Families involved in two high-profile cases involving Atlanta police now are joining the call to have new prosecutors take them over. But so far, the Attorney General is not budging.
Now Joe Henke has learned it's leading a former officer charged with murder to call for his case to be dismissed.
The attorneys for these cases say this is the first time that they met in person with the new Fulton County District Attorney to discuss their cases. While they might not agree or disagree necessarily with the reasonings she's put forward for a new prosecutor to be assigned to these cases, at this point they say they just want to move forward.
Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis has now twice asked Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr to assign a new prosecutor to two of her office's cases. The first, the killing of Rayshard Brooks last summer, and the second is the tasing of two college students in downtown Atlanta last May during nights of protest. Atlanta police officers are charged in both cases. Willis is alleging her predecessor, Paul Howard, charged the officers, then used video evidence from the cases and campaign materials for his DA re-election bid, possibly violating state bar rules and creating a conflict of interest. Carr's office, though, denied both of Willis's requests, saying any issues are with Howard, not Willis or the DA's office. Rayshard Brooks' family and the two college students, Tanaya Pilgrim and Messiah Young, along with their attorneys, say they were left in the dark during Willis and Carr's back and forth and asked to meet with Willis. This morning, they sat down for an hour and left the meeting joining Willis's call for a new prosecutor, saying it is the best way forward.
What the family needs and what they want is just a road to closure, to start down the path to have this thing done and put this behind them.
In the Rayshard Brooks case, former APD officer Garrett Rolfe is charged with murdering Brooks. Today, his attorney filed a motion to dismiss the case. Rolfe's attorney argues Willis has said her office can't handle the case. Carr denied her request to assign the case to another prosecutor, so the case should be tossed out. It'll be up to a Superior Court judge to rule on the motion.